very much. Well, my wife always says she's the one that sends me out to war every day. Your introduction is going to be longer than your speech. And I try to rectify that. I try to be informative and bring people up to what this is really all about. First, I want to know, in the bio, they made me 3 days older than I am. As everything happens, you know, a little typo error. The 369 was World War I, not World War II. The 369 is pretty much why I stick to this building and why I try to keep the history and whatnot alive, because every day a baby is born. He knows nothing. And you give them schooling and everything else, and that's how you bring them up, or her up. And they come to the point that they understand what the civilization is all about. Without that inclusion or bringing the information in, it goes unnoticed. So if you don't tell your history, it's going to go away. And that's exactly why I'm trying to preserve this. Famous people who served in the 369, not only the soldiers of World War I, who had the courage to volunteer and go into a foreign war, knowing that they might be killed. A lot of them were. In the previous speaker, he spoke about Jesse Owens. Well, there's a guy over here, John Woodrow. He's in one of the pictures here, right here. He ran with Jesse Owens in 1936, I think it was. He's a silver medalist. So you see the little connections of everything. The first commander is up here, Hayward. Then there's little, and you notice that the commanders are all white until you see the first black face there, or African American. That's B.O. Davis Sr. He is the first African American to get the rank of Brigadier General in the history of the United States. He was the commander of this unit. I always just say, you know, when I got to be a second lieutenant, I said, I'm glad I wasn't serving under him here. Because he was here full time and you would come here part time. And he was way ahead of you from the day start. So he would give out orders and directions and whatnot to the officers. I have to give them credit because a lot of the officers that was in the 369 went on to be high-ranking generals as well. One of his staff members became 3-star general. So the 369 was like, to me, was like East Point to West Point. Because if you served in the 369, they gave you the training that you needed to be a leader, to take care of what you had to take care and be decisive in what you're doing. Most 369ers leaving this unit going to other units could easily excel because they had all the correct training and all the background necessary to do it. Now, mostly I talk about the 369 and why we should keep this history. Why should we stop them from demolition in this building and making it what they want? It's like was said before. Who do you want to keep your history? You want your neighbor to keep it? Or do you want to keep it? The neighbor don't know what's important. And what he don't think is important, he'll throw away. And that's exactly what will happen to the artifacts and things that are in this building. If they go ahead and do the plan, that the one that I have an idea of what they told me, is they're going to gut the building right down to the bricks. And they're going to rebuild it inside. Now the outside of this building is a landmark, so they can't do anything with the landmark. And as you can see, all the scaffolding that's out there now is to refix the outside of the building back to the landmark status. Now my thing is always, why didn't they continue to do that before? Did they have the money, or they didn't have the money, or what? Why are they taking the inside of this building? It's like taking Lincoln's house and re-renovating the inside and leaving the outside. You have no idea how Lincoln lived. So to keep the building like it is, like the famous people that came through here, you're going to get an idea how they felt about it and whatnot. Now, In the articles there, they have Clayton Powell, but that's Colin Powell, not Clayton Powell. Colin Powell was in this building also. He was a cadet going to SUNY over right here at City College. And he would come here and drill. I was here at the time, but I didn't know him. Then later on, he becomes a 4-star general, and lucky I become a 2-star general. But he was on active duty, remember that now. And the odd thing about it also is that he lived on Kelly Street. So did I. I lived on Straight Kelly, he lived on Banana Kelly, which was 1 block apart. I didn't know him then either. So it's a case that, you know what life brings and what you achieve and what you grow up to be, you never know who you're going to meet and you never know how you're going to turn out. It's always to say, you know, when I was a little kid, I thought I was going to be a general. And that would be far-fetched because when you're a kid, you don't know what you're going to be. You keep trying and doing different things. Now, my life has been that in the school system, like I was brought up in the Bronx. I was brought up in a white neighborhood. When I went to school, I was the only black kid in my class. So understanding people made it easy for me. Although I got racial insults and whatnot, but as a kid, I had Southern parents who taught me how to survive. So one of the things is you can't fight everybody if they call you a bad name. The thing is, you got to figure out how to keep them from doing that. So that's what you call survival. So by growing up in this neighborhood, I learned everybody is the same as everybody else. So I never had any feeling of people are different than what you are. They thought the same way I thought. And they pretty much, we played together and put games together and so forth. And so it turned out my life has been a lot easier than some people's lives in the Army because I didn't have a stigma that I was black. I think Colin Powell says that also, that because you're black, you're going to be different. No, you treat yourself the way you want to be treated, and hopefully the other people will treat you the same way. Respect each and every one, and they'll respect you. And so that's been my sort of plan as being a general. One of the things I had when I was a general, I still am, was I had an open door policy. Most of my staff didn't like that, because Private Jones could come and knock on my door and he could come in and I could talk to him. Well, you can't find out what the troops are doing if you don't talk to them. So that was part of my policy. Whenever I visited a unit, I went down to where the soldiers were and asked them. Now, when I was the commander here, I started out here as a lieutenant. I got to be a company commander, well then they call it a battery commander. Company commander, and what my job was then to get everybody trained for war. But you can't get them trained for war if you don't put them in the training site. A lot of the soldiers felt that they could walk up to Lenox Avenue and put their time in and get no training. But that wasn't what I always said, if you don't get your training, you're going to start dying on